Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Panchatattva 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 Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Sotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON BBD Founder Chai Srila Prabhupada ki. Prantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Samveda Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki. Gaura Premanande. Chant the Mangalacharan prayers together. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service. And we have two shlokas, 28 and 29. 29 is on the board. So maybe I'll just chant 28 first, and then we'll move on to 29. Devahutiruvacha kachitva yucchita bhakti kidrishi mama gochara yaya padam te nirvanam anjasanashvana nava aham. Translation. On hearing this statement of the Lord, Devahuti inquired, "What kind of devotional service is worth developing and practicing to help me easily and immediately attain the service of your lotus feet?" A short purport. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that no one is barred from rendering service to the Lord, whether one is a woman or a laborer or a merchant. If he engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, he is promoted to the highest professional state and goes back home, back to Godhead. The devotional service most suitable for different types of devotees is determined and fixed by the mercy of the spiritual master. Text 29. I think I forgot to chant Om Namo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. yo yogo bhagavad bhano, yo yogo bhagavad bhano, yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams, nirvanatmams, tvayoditaha, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, kidrisha kati changani, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam, yatas tatvavabodhanam, yatas tatvavabodhanam, yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam, yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam, yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam. Yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam. There's so few of us today, I think everyone could do it. Yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam. No? Mataji, yeah? Yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam. Yo yogo bhagavad bhano, nirvanatmams tvayoditaha, kidrisha kati changani, yatas tatvavabodhanam. Word for word. Yaha, which. Yogaha, mystic yoga process. Bhagavatpānaha, aiming at the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nirvāna-ātman, O embodiment of nirvana. Tvaya, by you. Uditaha, explained. Kīdrishaha, of what nature? Kati, how many? Cha, and. Angani, branches, yataha, by which, tattva, of the truth, avabodhanam, understanding. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga? Purport. There are different kinds of mystic yoga systems aiming for different phases of the absolute truth. The Jnana Yoga system aims at the impersonal Brahman effulgence, and the Hatha Yoga system aims at the localized personal aspect, the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. Whereas Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service, which is executed in 9 different ways, headed by hearing and chanting, aims at complete realization of the Supreme Lord. There are different methods of self-realization, but here Devahuti especially refers to the Bhakti Yoga system, which has already been primarily explained by the Lord. The different parts of the Bhakti Yoga system are hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping the Lord in the temple, accepting service to Him, carrying out His orders, making friendship with Him, and ultimately surrendering everything for the service of the Lord. The word nirvana-atman is very significant in this verse. Unless one accepts the process of devotional service, one cannot end the continuation of material existence. As far as jnanis are concerned, they are interested in jnana yoga. But even if one elevates himself after a great performance of austerity to the Brahman effulgence, there is a chance of falling down again to the material world. Therefore, jnana yoga does not actually end material existence. Similarly, regarding the Hatha Yoga system, which aims at the localized aspect of the Lord, Paramatma, it has been experienced that many yogis, such as Vishwamitra, fall down. But bhakti yogis, once approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, never come back to this material world, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Yadgatvana nivartante. Upon going, one never comes back. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. After giving up this body, he never comes back again to accept a material body. Nirvana does not finish the existence of the soul. The soul is ever existing. Therefore, nirvana means to end one's material existence, and to end material existence means to go back home, back to Godhead. Sometimes it is asked how the living entity falls down from the spiritual world to the material world. Here is the answer. Unless one is elevated to the Vaikuntha planets, directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is prone to fall down, either from the impersonal Brahman realization or from an ecstatic trance of meditation. Brahman realization, another word in this verse, Bhagavad Bānaha, is very significant. Bānaha means arrow. The Bhakti Yoga system is just like an arrow, aiming up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhakti Yoga system never urges one towards the impersonal Brahman effulgence or to the point of Paramatma realization. This bāna, or arrow, is so sharp and swift that it goes directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, penetrating the regions of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Let's read the shlokas again. Devahutiruvacha kachitva yuchita bhakti kidrishi mama gochara yaya padam te nirvanam anjasana ashvanava aham. On hearing this statement of the Lord, Devahuti inquired, what kind of devotional service is worth developing and practicing to help me easily and immediately attain the service of your lotus feet? Yo yogo bhagavad-bāno nirvana-atmam svayoditaha kidrisha kati-changani yatastatva-vabodhanam. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga? Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. To the faithful few who have gathered here on this hot summer's day in Sridham Mayapur. There are 11 devotees here. For those who are watching online, somehow the 7 a.m. classes always get a little bit less attendance. And of course we have quite a big competition with the katha going on downstairs, as you may hear in the background. But we are still following Srila Prabhupada's prescribed program of everyday gathering to hear Srimad Bhagavatam together in the association of devotees. So this is a continuation of a very important chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Glories of Devotional Service. So the last few shlokas we heard Lord Kapila begin his discourse to his mother Devahuti. And in today's verses, she is asking questions to him. Now, for some reason, I was given 2 shlokas today, even though there's quite a lot of material. Even in the first shloka, it's a short purport, but it's quite deep. In fact, it touches on some of the hot topics that you can discuss in ISKCON today. The mam hi partha vipashritya yepi suyupapa yonaya sriyo vaishyatata shuddha stepi yanti param katim. So Prabhupada doesn't quote this Sanskrit, but he quotes the translation in the purport to text 28. Whether one is a woman, laborer, merchant, shudra, or vaishya, one can go back to Godhead if he engages in devotional service. So that could be quite a lengthy discussion about the position of women, why they're equated to Shudra and Vaishya, leading on to what kind of services can Vaishnavis perform in ISKCON. Some of these subjects have been debated for decades and still without full resolution. And there's some very entrenched opinions on both sides of the spectrum. So that's one hot topic. And then in today's shloka, the other hot topic is the fall of the jiva. And the second part of the purport, Prabhupada talks, sometimes it is asked how the living entity falls down from the spiritual world to the material world. So it's another hot topic which could be discussed for eternity. And there's so many different opinions based on different shastras and different acharyas that can simply bewilder the mind of a simple devotee who is trying to follow Srila Prabhupada's system. So in any case, there's a lot of material in these 2 shlokas. And Devahuti, just to backtrack a little bit, I was kind of considering the position of Devahuti. She's in a very privileged and exalted position. So we have to remember this pastimes are going on quite early in the creation of the universe. The universe is yet to be fully populated. Swayambhuva Manu is the first king. He's directly a son of Lord Brahma, and he has 2 sons and 1 daughter, Uttanapad and Priyavrata, and Devahuti is his daughter. So as we'll see further on, the rest of the universe is not populated yet. Devahuti had 9 daughters, and they're marrying the 9 great sages, and from them the population will increase, also from the daughters of Daksha, which we heard about in previous chapters. So things are just kind of starting up in the universe. And her position is very exalted because we hear from Shastra how the woman should always be protected in childhood by the father, in adulthood by the husband, and in her old age by the son. So who is Devahuti's father, who is Devahuti's husband, and who is Devahuti's son? Of course, Devahuti's son we know very well, is Lord Kapila. And Devahuti's husband we've heard about quite a lot also, Kardama Muni, great pure devotee of the Lord, who has now departed to perform austerities. He also goes back to Godhead. He's the father of Kapila Dev, not ordinary personality. And Swayambhuva Manu, he is one of the Mahajans. Manu Samhita, which is the code by which the human society is supposed to base its activities upon, was written by Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlada Janako Bhishmo Baliravaya Sakirvayam So Yamaraj, he's listing the Mahajans. Swayambhu is Lord Brahma, who is the original personality in this universe. Narada Muni, Shambhu means Lord Shiva. They're both sons of Lord Brahma. Kumara, also the sons of Lord Brahma, the four Kumaras. Kapila here, he's also one of the Mahajans. So Devahuti has a father who's a Mahajan and has a son who's a Mahajan. In fact, Kapila is not just a Mahajan, he's also an incarnation. So very extraordinary situation she finds herself in. And her husband was no less, Kardama Muni, pure devotee of the Lord who goes back to Godhead. Prahlada, Janaka, Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Vyasaki means the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami, and Yamaraj himself. These are the Mahajans who display by their activities how one should perform devotional service in this material world. So we heard in previous chapters something of the character of Devahuti. Of course, she's a princess, and somehow princesses in Bhagavatam are always, even in popular culture, princesses are usually very beautiful, very qualified, very educated, very sober, and have all the feminine qualities. And in fact, it's mentioned that Devahuti was so beautiful that although she's considered, like a human, even the Gandharva king, he just saw her from a great distance when he was flying his airplane over the palace of Swayambhuva Manu, and Devahuti was on the roof playing. And he was so bewildered by her beauty that he fell off from his airplane. And it doesn't say what happened to him, if he crashed and died, or presumably he had the siddhi to recover from the fall. But this was her beauty. Of course, her character, we know that although she was maybe the first princess in the universe, and generally when it comes to matchmaking with a princess, there's so many stipulations, even today actually, in the upper class families, if they're looking for a husband for the daughter, there's so many requirements, so many stipulations. It has to be from the right caste and the right social background, and should be wealthy, good looking, so many considerations may be there, astrology. But who did she marry? She married a very renowned sage, Kardama Muni, who was simply living in an ashram in the forest. He had no possessions, hardly had, proper clothes. It's described that he wasn't even very clean, living in the humble, probably a mud hut in the forest. So despite coming from such a opulent, privileged background, she was simply interested in the character of her husband. And of course, this was also arranged by the Lord himself. It was the Lord's arrangement that Devahuti would marry Kardama Muni. So once she married him, she immediately gave up all her royal possessions, and she was living a very simple life in the forest without any servants, any facilities, serving her husband with full dedication. Total opposite life than what she had been used to. But because of her great character, she was able to easily adjust. And she performed so much austerity that she became skinny and disheveled. Her hair was become matted, almost unrecognizable from her princess avatar, you could say. And when Kardama Muni understood how much austerity his wife was undertaking just to assist him in his tapasya, then he switched modes, and he understood that he needs to provide for her proper, married life experience. And although he was very austere, he understood that he needs to provide for her as a princess, as she deserves. So he just created this flying aerial mansion, which had lakes and servants and birds and forests. Everything was described in previous chapters, how they enjoyed flying throughout the universe on this amazing vimana. So nowadays in modern air travel, airlines always try to advertise the first class, business class. You can get your own bed, you can lie down and sleep in the plane. Some of them even have a shower where you can shower, and they cook for you in the plane itself. Trying to encourage people to spend lots of money to enjoy this experience. But if you just read the description of what Kardama Muni could provide in his airplane, there's no way any mechanic, any engineer in this world can create such a device, a whole flying palace. Nowadays there's big crisis because of lack of jet fuel and all the airfares are going up. Kardama Muni didn't have to worry about such things. Simply by his yogic Shakti, this plane could fly anywhere in the universe, not even limited to a certain planet. So on the higher planets, these facilities are there. So despite all this allurement, all this enjoyment, after having children, when Kardama Muni was prepared to leave, Devahuti realized that she should have taken more advantage of his spiritual acumen. And she approached him, and after that Kapila was born, and now she wants to fully dedicate herself to devotional life again. And so in these chapters, Kapila Muni will be expounding the devotional Sankhya philosophy, and this chapter especially is very famous. As we heard from several other speakers, Srila Prabhupada gave an entire lecture series on this 25th chapter of the third canto. This was in Bombay in 1974, in November. And on the basis of those lectures and on the basis of these purports, the book, a separate book, was published by the BBT, The Teachings of Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti. So whatever Srila Prabhupada spoke in those lectures has been adapted and edited and printed as a separate book. So it's a combination of Prabhupada's purports here and Prabhupada's lectures on these shlokas in November 1974 in Bombay. You can hear, if you hear the audio, you can hear the honking of the ambassador cars in those days in the background. But this is the early days of Juhu, where the temple wasn't manifest as it is now. And at one point Prabhupada says, I was listening to the lectures on these verses, he says, our boys, they have already tasted the nectar of Krishna consciousness. They have no interest in material activities. And Prabhupada says, just one block from here, there's a cinema. And if you've been to Juhu Temple, it must be the same cinema. It's still there, like 2-3 minutes walk away, there's a cinema. And even at that time, in 74, I must have been there. And Prabhupada says, they have no interest in going to the cinema. They're happy to sit here and chant Hare Krishna. He says, they'll never go to cinema. Prabhupada is very proud, actually, of his Western disciples that had given up, all their sinful habits and taken to Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada gave a full lecture on verse 28 and a full lecture on verse 29 on every verse of this chapter. So I wanted to review. I felt it would be actually breach of etiquette if I didn't speak on what Srila Prabhupada spoke in these shlokas. Sometimes, many verses we have to, on our own, okay, what did the Acharya say? What shlokas are quoted? Where can I find a cross-reference? But when Srila Prabhupada is directly spoken on the shloka, then, what better resource than to repeat Srila Prabhupada's words? So especially on text 28, Prabhupada gave a very systematic and organized lecture when he quoted many shlokas supporting the position of Devahuti. Now, Devahuti here is approaching a spiritual master, basically. It's a little unusual that the guru figure is her son, but the principle is that every living entity, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. Well, wandering in the material universe, sometimes in higher planets, sometimes in lower planets, Urdhva Gachanti Sattvasta, Madhya Tishtanti Rajasa, Jaganna Gunavrittista, Adho Gachanti Tamasa. According to the modes of nature, one may rise to the heavenly planets, may be stuck on the middle planetary system in the mode of passion. For those in the mode of ignorance, they'll go to the hellish planets, the lower planets. But if by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, one comes in touch with the spiritual master, then one can get the Bhakti Lata Bij. And that's actually the purpose of human life. So the Vedanta Sutra starts from this point, that once attaining the human form of life, one should inquire into Brahman. So the very first sutra of the Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa, then Janmadyasya Yataha Shastrayo Nitvat Tattva Samanvayat Ikshaterna Shabdam, goes on, and then Anandamayo Bhyasat, another very famous one. So Srila Prabhupada would explain this. Now, therefore, one should inquire into Brahman. And how to do that? On our own, we don't have the intelligence, the resources. We have to go to the Shastra, we have to go to the spiritual master. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jñānam jñānenas tattvadarshina. So all these verses Srila Prabhupada quoted in his lecture. Tad vijñānārtam sa giram mivāvikachet. The first line is quite famous, that to find out spiritual knowledge, one has to approach a spiritual master. But the second line is also very interesting. Samitmani shrotriyam brahmanishtham. That one should carry firewood in one's hands. One should carry the yagya wood to offer to the spiritual master. Pariprashnena sevaya. In Bhagavad Gita also, and Prabhupada often quoted that verse. Seva, one has to perform menial service to the spiritual master. And then he will be pleased and impart knowledge unto the disciple. And not simply challenging or speculating or asking questions just for the sake of it. Similarly, when Prabhupada was giving a lecture on this verse, he was talking about Arjuna, how Arjuna had great dilemma when he had to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. All his relatives and friends were on the other side, and he knew almost everyone was going to be killed, even his own party would be killed. And so he's telling Krishna, I can't do this, it's not proper to fight with my relatives, it'll cause so many social problems. But at one point, he decided he has to surrender to Krishna and hear Krishna's instruction. So Prabhupada says when two friends are talking, it's like on a friendly basis, joking, maybe not have much deeper meaning. But the spiritual master talks with the spiritual master are not like that. So therefore Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. Shishyaste ham shadimam tvam prapannam. That now I'm your surrendered servant, you please instruct me what I should do. Because by himself, he couldn't figure out what was the best thing to do. He knew that Krishna wanted him to fight, but on his own, he had so many reasons why he shouldn't fight. So therefore, he had to surrender to Krishna, and Krishna had to instruct him. And from that point on, it was a different rasa. Krishna became the superior, and he was instructing Arjuna, just like a disciple, guru to disciple. And the first thing he said, in the same lecture Prabhupada says, Ashocyananda shochastvam pratyag-ātmānam shabhashasya. You're speaking very learned words, pragya, as if very learned. Some of Arjuna's arguments were quite, valid and sensible. But nanu shochanti pandita, real katasu nagutasum sha nanu shochanti pandita. A real pandit, he doesn't speak like this. He doesn't lament like you're lamenting. And Prabhupada says in a very gentlemanly way, Krishna told Arjuna, you're speaking like a fool. Like a pandit, opposite of pandit, an unscholarly person. So like that, Prabhupada was emphasizing that Devahuti is approaching Kapila Dev as a disciple, and he's replying to her, he's preaching to her as a spiritual master would. Prabhupada also describes about the menial service that the brahmachari, he should go to the Gurukul and learn from the spiritual master. And it says it doesn't matter if one is a son of the king or a son of some great rishi or just a very simple, average person. Once one goes to the ashram of the spiritual master, everyone is treated the same. And they all have to perform menial service, and there's no preferential treatment. Oh, someone is special, his father is so-and-so, he can do something for me, he'll pay more money. Nothing like that. When one comes before the spiritual master, everyone is treated equally. And Prabhupada also mentioned that before the spiritual master, the disciple, he should present himself as very humble and submissive, even as a fool. And he referenced the pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was in Varanasi. And Prakāshananda Saraswati, who was a great Vedantist. We're just speaking about Vedanta. So the Mayavadis, they are very much into Vedanta, study Vedanta Sutra. And they were criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because although he's a sannyasi, he was apparently chanting and dancing like a sentimentalist, like a bhavuk, someone who's just sentimental and doesn't have much understanding of the philosophy. So when Lord Chaitanya met with Prakāshananda Saraswati, then he explained to him, yes, actually I'm a great fool. And my spiritual master told me that I'm a great fool. And therefore I shouldn't study Vedanta. I don't have the qualification to study Vedanta. Of course, this is not true because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the greatest scholar, but he was presenting himself as a very junior personality. And He said, Guru mora murkha deki korilo shasan. My Guru chastised me. Shasan. Now, shasan means to rule or to give discipline. It's the same, actually, root as shishya, as disciple. Someone who is disciplined by the spiritual master, he's a disciple. So korilo shasan, my spiritual master disciplined me, chastised me, saying that I'm a fool and I don't have any qualification for understanding Vedanta, therefore I should just chant the holy name of the Lord. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not a fool. He was able to defeat great Mayavadis like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He could explain the Atmarama verse in so many different ways. But at the same time, he was more interested, you could say, in chanting and tasting the nectar of Krishna's holy name. When Lord Chaitanya took initiation from Ishwarapuri, the same Ishwarapuri who said he is a great fool, he said after he took initiation, that was the time when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasy was revealed. And previous to that, he was Nimai Pandit, he was a great scholar. But after that, his mood changed. And he told Ishwarapuri, Kiba mantra dile goshai, kiba tarbal, jopite mantra korilo pagal. That what kind of mantra did you give me? What is the power of this mantra? By chanting this mantra, I'm going mad. And when Lord Chaitanya came back from Navadvip, then from Gaya, then he started to enact his devotional pastimes. And actually it's described in Chaitanya Bhagavatam that there are many interesting descriptions how Lord Chaitanya, he manifested himself as different avatars. So even Kapila Muni is mentioned there, that once when Lord Chaitanya came home from teaching, Sachimata was serving him lunch, and she asked him, what did you teach today? What did you discuss with your students? And just like Kapila Dev is teaching Devahuti, Nimai started to preach to Sachimata, talking about Krishna, Krishna's holy name, devotional service. So it's described by Vrindavan Das Thakur that just as Kapila was teaching to Devahuti, Nimai was teaching to Sachimata, mother to son, son to mother. So the very nice, interesting pastimes described there, description of the conversation between Sachimata and Nimai. Kapila Dev is one of the perhaps not so famous incarnations compared to the 10 avatars. And many people actually may not even know in India also who is Kapila. If you say Kapil Dev, they'll think of someone else, totally. The average Indian person, if you say, Kapila Dev, they'll think there was a sportsman named Kapil Dev. He was cricket captain of India in the 80s. And he's actually probably more famous than our Kapila Muni, our Kapila Dev. And there are a couple of incidents actually with this Kapil Dev. Once he came to Australia for a cricket series in Adelaide. He saw the Harinam party. They're doing Harinam in the mall. And he made some comment to the media that, what is this? He felt like, I think, a bit confronted, that here the white brahmacharis and devotees are doing kirtan, and he's in Australia playing cricket. And that's what the devotees responded, why is he criticizing us? He's from India coming to Australia to play cricket. What kind of, is that Vedic culture? Is that Indian culture? Actually, we're the real followers of Vedic culture. Later on, actually, in the 90s, he was chief guest in Calcutta Rath Yatra. So those of you who've been to Calcutta Rath Yatra, there was a huge crowds of people come. And if you have someone like that, one year it was Saurav Ganguly, and prior to that it was Kapil Dev was chief guest. And I remember one of the devotees was telling him, please tell the crowd to chant Hare Krishna, because if someone like that encourages the common people, they'll more likely to take it up. So it was Sri Ram Prabhu, actually, my friend. He was telling Kapil Dev, please tell them to chant Hare Krishna, but he wouldn't do it. He said, oh no. All he said was, I love Calcutta. So he lost his chance to, give some spiritual benefit to the people. But anyhow, the real Kapila Dev is the son of Devahuti, who is giving this very deep philosophical instructions to his mother here. So Devahuti says she wants to find an easy process, right? Everybody likes to do something easy. No one wants to do the difficult process. In fact, in the previous verse, the word was there, rijubhi. Rijubhi, easy, in text 26. So she wants something easy. Why would we, to attain the Supreme, why would you take a complicated process? And Prabhupada explains how the Jnana Yoga system, the Hatha Yoga system, they're very cumbersome and long-winded, and you can't get even a complete result. And in the purport to text 29, he talks quite a lot about that even you can fall down from the Brahman effulgence, what to speak of the yogis who are doing Ashtanga Yoga. He gives the example of Vishwamitra, who just by hearing the ankle bells of Menaka fell down. Whereas the Bhakti yogis, once approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, never come back to this material world, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yad gatva nanivartante tadhama paramam mama. And also the very nice example given by Devahuti of the arrow. Bhagavad Bana. Bana literally means arrow. Aiming at the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this arrow, it shoots directly to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, beyond the Brahman, impersonal Brahman aspect and the localized Paramatma aspect. So Devahuti, this is her focus. She doesn't want to be distracted by Paramatma realization, by Brahman realization. She wants directly, and she has the Supreme Lord in front of her. So she has full access to that knowledge that he's going to speak and explain to her. So she asks, how many kinds of ways are there by one can understand the supreme truth, the sublime yoga? The word is kidrisha, kati changani. Kidrisha means of what nature, kati, how many. Just like in Bengali you say koto. Even if you don't know Bengali, you would have heard this word, koto, koto, like how much. So kati in Sanskrit, very similar word. Kati, how many, koto, how many. So Kapila Deva has already hinted at the Navavidha Bhakti, and the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about it, headed by hearing and chanting, and remembering, offering prayers, worshipping the Lord, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So this verse also is given by Prahlad Maharaj, very famous, when Hiranyakashipu asked him, what is the best thing you have learned in the Gurukul? Just like we were talking about, the brahmachari is supposed to study in the Gurukul. So when Prahlad came back, Hiranyakashipu asked him, what is the best thing you've learned from your teachers? And Prahlad Maharaj was on a different platform. He wasn't thinking what Chanda and Namarka had taught him. He was thinking what Narad Muni, his real guru, had taught him in the womb. So what did he respond? Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu, smaranam padasevanam, archanam vandanam dasyam, sakhyam atmanivedanam, eti pumsarpita Vishnu, bhaktischennava kriyeta bhagavatyadha tanmanyedhitamuttamam. So he gives listing the 9 processes of devotional service. And Prabhupada says here, beginning with hearing and chanting, headed by hearing and chanting. So not only that, there are actually different, as described in Nectar Devotion, there are different devotees who have perfected their bhakti according to one or all of the 9 processes of all these different 9 processes. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshita Bhavat Vayasaki Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Pritu Pujane Akrurastvavi Vandane Kapipate Dasyeti Sakyarjuna Sarvasmatmane Vedane Balirabhut Krishna Aptiresham Para. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit. We know Parikshit Maharaj is the one who perfected himself by Shravana, by hearing this very Srimad Bhagavatam that we're discussing. And Vayasaki Kirtane, by Kirtana, by chanting Srimad Bhagavatam, by speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasaki, son of Vyasadev, he attained perfection. Prahlada Smarane. Prahlad Maharaj was always remembering the Lord Nrsimhadev, just like Nrsimha Chaturdashi is coming in a few days. And then Prahlad Katha is going on downstairs. And these verses also from Prahlad Maharaj. So his perfection was through remembering the Lord. Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi. By Lakshmi Devi, she personally massages the feet of the Lord, and that is her perfection. Pritu Pujane, Pritu Maharaj by Archana, process of deity worship. Akrurastava Vandane. Akrura is very famous for offering prayers. I've just been reading Akrura's prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. So when he was on his way to Vrindavan, he was contemplating how he's going to see Kṛṣṇa, how Kṛṣṇa will reciprocate with him. We know when he reached Vrindavan, he got off and saw Krishna's footprints, and he was taking the dust of Krishna's footprints. And when he actually had darshan of Kṛṣṇa, he was stunned, actually, he couldn't speak. But Krishna recognized him, Krishna and Balaram brought him inside, they offered him worship and honored him, fed him prasadam, sat him down very nicely. Then they had a discussion, what's happening in Mathura, how is everyone faring under the rule of evil King Kamsa. Nanda Maharaj said, there can't be any auspiciousness for the people of Mathura as long as Kamsa is the king. And then Makrura explained to them the situation. And then on the next day when he's taking Krishna to Mathura, Krishna and Balaram on the chariot, then he goes to take bath in the Yamuna, and he has darshan of the Lord. And then he offers his prayers. There also he offers prayers to the 10 incarnations. Personally, I would thought that maybe it was Jayadev Goswami when he composed the Dashavatar Stotra. Maybe he was the one who particularly singled out these 10 avatars as the primary incarnations. But no, actually Akrura also, he talks about those 10 avatars. He offers prayers to Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana, Parashuram, Ram, Krishna, Balaram, Buddha, and Kalki. Here this word the Prabhupada focuses on is nirvana. Devahuti calls Kapila Dev as vairāgya-vijṛmbhitena. O embodiment of nirvana. So nirvana is not a term which is monopolized by the Buddhists, right? Generally, when you say nirvana, generally people think it's some kind of impersonal void liberation, like the Buddhist goal of nirvana is to cessation of all material desires, all material activities, merging, giving up one's consciousness, giving up one's identity, individuality. But actually, no, nirvana is a term that we also use. And the Lord is the vairāgya-vijṛmbhitena, the embodiment of liberation, mukti pada. Yeah, so also in Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned what is the easy process to attain the Lord or to perfect one's devotional practice. In one of my favorite shlokas in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha. Sulabha means easy, easy to gain. Like we have durlabha. Durlabha means very hard. Durlabha manusha janma. The human birth is very rare, very difficult to obtain. Opposite is sulabha, very easy to obtain. Tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogena. One who constantly remembers Kṛṣṇa without thinking of anything else. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityasha, who constantly thinks of me. Tasyaham, to such a person, sulabha partha, I'm very easy to obtain because he's always engaged in me. And thankfully, Kṛṣṇa is so attractive that it's very easy to think of him, very easy to be attracted to him. Just now we'll go for darshan. We see Kṛṣṇa in the beautiful chandan outfit. Lord Nrsimhadev looks so different. And the special vesha, the special pastime that is displayed every day. What to speak of the boat festival, Radha Madhav going around on the boat in the evenings. Kṛṣṇa is all attractive. Therefore, it's very easy to fix the mind upon him. And in that way, we can be very steady in our devotional service. Unfortunately, our time is up. So I have to also just stop right here because darshan has already started. There's no time for questions either, I'm sorry. But if you have any question or comment, we could discuss personally afterwards. Thank you for attending. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi.